Okay, since I'm talking about spirituality, right? Putting up videos on spirituality, I kind of wanted to give some context and talk about my own personal spiritual journey and when it started. When it actually started was when I was 11, right? When I actually realized that, started my own personal relationship with spirit. It was when I was 11, and it was, you know, with Jesus, right? And I'm not talking about church, right? That's when I started going to church consistently, but talking about an actual relationship, right? And this is you know, not for it. It doesn't matter who believes, who doesn't believe, but you know, encounters are real, right? Spirit is real, right? So my encounter was with Jesus, right? And it was in my bed when I was 11 years old, and a lot was going on in my life at the time, right? My aunt had just got, um, there was a tragic accident within my family. My aunt passed away in a car accident. They were actually coming from my house, right? From our house, and going back home, and my mother's sister and her family got into a car accident, right? And from then on, my mother's sister passed away, but the family dynamic changed instantly, right? Because it was a tragedy. So my cousin and my two cousins and my uncle, they ended up coming to live with us, right? And it was just, and we just went, it happened and it was tragic, and then we just went back to school and like everything was back to normal, right? But it was just a weird situation, right? It was a weird situation. Went back to camp, went back to school, and uh, I don't know. I felt weird, and I think that was good. The fact that I had that encounter, it was like I was in bed and I was kind of like not freaking out, but I was just laying there looking up at the ceiling, and all of a sudden I got this feeling. I felt something come over me, like like an embrace. You know what I'm saying? And it said, he said, I'll be with you always. You know what I'm saying? That I'll hold your hand through it all. You know what I'm saying? That I'm here for you. And I'm going to hold your hand through it. You know what I'm saying? Through life. That can call on. You know what I'm saying? It was, I don't know if anybody knows what I'm saying, but it was an encounter. It was like a confirmation of that relationship, right? I was a very nervous girl, very nervous and very quiet and to myself. And it was because, I was being raised by an abusive mother. You know what I'm saying? An abusive family, really. I was the scapegoat within my family. But my mother in particular, she was a ringleader. And it started when I was little, you know what I'm saying? It was physical and emotional abuse from way back before I could even remember. You know what I'm saying? My mother would just in every context, in every situation, like talk about the way my body wasn't right, or you're built square like your father, like, or you always, it's always about my weight, right? And I think I overate. Sometimes things happen like overeating and things like that as protection mechanisms, right? You trying to protect yourself, right? So you overindulge in something, you do things to make you feel good, and my thing was eating, right? So I was, the fat one, and always had to be told how fat I was, right? Everybody was able to have an opinion on my body, right? And so that's all. It's always been that, right? And at the same time, like everything else too, I spent my whole life trying to make one person happy, right? One woman happy, and never got there, right? So I tried to be as good as possible. So, but as I kept trying to be good, I kept getting punished for it. You know what I'm saying? So I kept trying to be better, but there was no better. There was nothing I could do to gain the approval of my mother, right? And it wasn't just approval. It was just to not be punished by her, by just existing, right? I'm always a burden to her. And this went on until my mid-20s. Until my late 20s. I didn't leave. I mean, I left the house, but I left and then I came back, but I didn't fully leave until I was like 27, 28. That's when I moved to California, when I was 28. But I didn't understand before then what the issue actually was, right? I always thought the issue was me, right? So because life was, it had always been like that, or life had always been me trying to be better, trying to be a better person, trying to be good for somebody, But lo and behold, that was the premise for my spiritual journey. You know what I'm saying? It started when I was 11, and just that nervousness set in, right? The nervousness of a tragic accident, thinking that something can happen at any time. The nervousness of I hated being around people because my mother constantly told me I was wrong, right? The way I looked, the way I acted, right? I developed these nervous tics. Like I would do this with my hand, and she's like, stop doing that weird stuff with your hand. You know what I'm saying? Just things like that. Like I developed a nervousness, and I didn't want to be around other people. And it wasn't even like other people were doing anything, like, you know, the kids at school, some kids would tease about my weight and stuff, but it wasn't that as bad as at home, you know. At home, everybody was able to throw their emotional baggage on me, that everybody was able to you know, yell at me or hit me or whatever they wanted to do, because I was wrong, because it made them feel better, you know. And from that first encounter, it allowed me to focus a lot more on church, right? I started going, I mean, the whole family, after the accident, the whole family started going to church a lot more. But I started to develop that personal relationship. I started to have questions, because I really listened to what was being said. You know what I'm saying? I was trying to understand life and realize and figure out why it's so hard. I couldn't understand. And you know, I wasn't moping through life thinking, oh, my life is hard, because I had nothing to compare it to. But I would try to get things to compare it to, right? Like, I used to read a lot of Chicken Soup for the Soul. I had a bunch of Chicken Soup for the Soul variations, and I would read on tough stuff and death and dying, right? And or, you know, the books Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. Any sad book I could get my hand on, I would read it. And it was just to put my life in context, just to show that my life is not that bad, to keep that gratitude, right? But with my spiritual journey, I felt like, you know, I cling to church, and I cling to what is considered good, right? So that I could be good, because I felt like I was inherently bad. You know what I'm saying? I felt like I was inherently wrong in my being. I was embarrassed to be who I was, right? I always wanted to be someone else. You know what I'm saying? I always kind of wanted to live another life. You know what I'm saying? But my focus on church was like, I would cling to my relationship with God. You know what I'm saying? That's when because I was so nervous, because everything around me was like, I couldn't understand it. I didn't have a lot of friends. It was hard for me to relate to people. I clung to my relationship with God, right? I developed that talking to God early, right? But I was talking to Jesus, right? I developed that conversation of talking to Jesus, like, in my mind, in my thoughts early on, because I would always pray for help. You know what I'm saying? I would always pray, you know, through my nervousness. You know what I'm saying? Because I had no choice. I was nervous to go to the bus stop every morning. I was nervous to go to school. It was the things that I had to do every day, right? But I remember that revelation that I first got. He said he would hold my hand through it all. So every day I would get up and pray before I go to school. You know, not before I go to school, as I'm walking to the bus stop. And, you know, imagine Jesus holding my hand, you know, through it all, and throughout the day. You know what I'm saying? I'll pray on the bus to have a good day, and then I'll pray for you know, I would pray for the kids in Africa, because I knew that they were starving. I knew that they were doing bad. You know, even though that, you know, that's propaganda that they show us, but that was my perception of the world. That was what I knew about the world, which was not much, clearly. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I did. And it wasn't a good existence. I used to sleep a whole lot, you know what I'm saying? Because I was depressed. I was sad. I was not in a good place. But me not being in a good place, that was okay for everybody around me, right? And I had family around me. I had people around me. And school, like, if I knew, you know, I was not good in anything else, I knew I was smart. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't the best at school. I was good at school. I was just right above average. You know what I'm saying? But I wasn't the best. But I brought home decent grades. So that, it wasn't a redeeming factor to my mother. You know what I'm saying? Because that was her excuse to not be engaged with me at school. Like, if I asked her, oh, can you come to this parent teacher night so I could get a homework pass? She's like, are you failing? No. Then, you know, she's not coming. You know what I'm saying? But she would go to my brother, if he got in trouble at school, or if the teacher wanted to talk to them at school, you know, both of them would be there. You know what I'm saying? But me, school was my thing. I did on my own. You know what I'm saying? So it was okay. It was decent enough to get by, to be above average, to be in the honors programs and stuff like that. There's an underlying truth within, you know, the Bible. I think within, you know, across religions, period, there's an underlying truth that is the same, that is consistent within religions, because it is the truth of our being, right? It's the truth of knowledge of who we are as divine beings, right? But the set of principles, the dogma on top of that, it's just a misinterpretation, and it ain't right, and it's actually very convoluted and very deceptive, you know, and very controlling. But I tried to live it, and that's how I know what it is, because I tried to live it to the T, right? And pushed myself into a corner. It didn't make sense. It made no sense at all. You know what I'm saying? It was dumb. I don't care who disagrees. It was stupid. So, so I stopped, you know, and it wasn't just church. It was like what was being taught. None of it was consistent. It had no basis in what was going on. You know what I'm saying? And because I started, you know, early on, I started to read the Bible for myself. It was making more sense than when I was going to church. You know what I'm saying? So I started questioning early on, what was being taught in church. And it was just like, opinions that scripture was being used to justify, you know what I'm saying? And I just didn't agree with it because it was super judgmental. And I saw myself becoming super judgmental of everybody and everything. And it was opposite of what was being taught. It was opposite of what I was reading, not what was being taught. It was opposite of what I was reading. And what was being taught was to be chased in a way, and or to be chastised in a way. And everybody was doing the exact opposite, right? I was in a youth ministry, and everybody was just being kids, doing themselves, doing what kids do, you know what I'm saying? And then it was being preached to do something totally different, but nobody was doing that. And so I stopped going to church when I was like 17, and I was like, I just left it behind because at that point I already had a relationship with with Jesus, right, with Christ, and I was already reading the Bible. I was studying on my own. I studied constantly. I studied because I was scared. You know what I'm saying? I was always nervous, so I was always studying. But I left the church because it was conflicting, and I was like, this don't even make sense. It's not even the same thing as what I'm reading. And I knew at that, I know that Spirit was already talking to me. You know what I'm saying? And I was already reading between the lines of some things. And so I just decided to stop going, I decided to stop being so judgmental. I didn't like the person I was turning into. I was a loner at the time. I've always been a loner, but I like pushed myself into a corner where I was the bad guy, you know what I'm saying, trying to be good. And I didn't do anything in particular to anybody, but I was just like, it was me and my thoughts about other people and what they were doing and their actions, and it just made no sense. It was like the opposite of what was being taught, which was, what was in the Bible, which was to love, right? And above all, you love, right? To see yourself in everybody else, right? The lessons the parables that stuck out to me was I was going against those things, being a part of the church organization, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, let me stop going. But at the time, I was depressed, I had no freedom whatsoever. I have a brother who is 2 years older than me, right? And he had the freedom to do anything he wanted, right? And he didn't have to prove himself to be loved, I was sitting here trying to buy love from my entire family, but especially from my mother, right? I was trying to be good in order to be loved more, right? But it didn't happen, So like, he got a car and they taught him how to drive. They didn't teach me because somehow I had a mouth, like I talked back too much, but I didn't. I don't know what the hell they was talking about. So they didn't teach me how to drive. And, they got him a car. He got a car. He had his graduation party was, it was just like he got rewarded for being himself, and I got disciplined for being who I was, for existing. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't myself at all. I didn't have a say in things. I didn't have the choice to do anything. And I didn't. Nobody asked me of my choices, right? I grew up with no boundaries. There's no boundaries to, my being, any of my space. Nothing was considered mine. It was no boundaries, no rewards for anything, no questioning, no asking what I wanted in any type of way. Everything was just thrust upon me. Like, I was not a person. I was like a part of I was a part of the family. I was the footstool, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't, so knowing who I was something that was far off, and even in my relationship with Christ, like, it was far off from knowing who I was, because it was me pleading with God to, like, please love me, despite my shortcomings, you know what I'm saying? Like, I prayed to be good all the time. I have journals filled with it. I was probably not there now. My mother probably burned that shit, like, but I swear she got rid of that shit. She got rid of my shit. But I have journals filled with prayers of asking God to please, work with me. Like, I'm sorry. Everything is I'm sorry. Because my whole childhood, I was trying to prove myself. I was trying to be good, But, so I was the one that was not seen. You know what I'm saying? I was there, but I was not seen. You know what I'm saying? And with that, like, when you're the footstool, when you're the scapegoat of the family, people feel like they're entitled to what is yours, to walk all over you. And, like, so they feel like they're entitled to treat you however they feel like treating you, and like and for you to respond, decently to them. You know what I'm saying? And I did, like, when I'm what people would call an empath. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel everything. I remember I was reading a journal from, like, when I was like 15, and one of the things I said was, I feel everything. You know what I'm saying? So I was like nice to everybody because I wanted to be good. You know what I'm saying? And not necessarily liked. I just wanted to be good. Like, so that I'll be worthy of something, so that I'll be worthy of love. So everything was like trying to be good in order to buy love. That was the premise. That was the circumstance of my life, was trying to be good in order to buy love. So I was nice to people in my life, you know what I'm saying? And they walked all over me. That was what happened. That's what happens when you're too nice, you know what I'm saying? When you don't think you deserve anything, you allow people to treat you like you're nothing, like you're not deserving, like you're nothing. But you don't know until you know. So I didn't know back then, because that's how I've always been treated, you know what I'm saying? So there was nothing for me to compare it to. All I knew is that I didn't like my life. All I knew is that I didn't feel good within myself. All I knew was that I was embarrassed to exist. To wake up every morning was hard. Like, I always questioned, like, why is life so hard? And then somebody said that I'm just gonna have to find a job and work the rest of my life. And I was like, after this, like, when is it my turn to live? I remember asking my mother one time, when is it my turn? She was like, your turn. You owe me. Like, oh, you for what? Like, for what? And it just, when you feel that doom and gloom, it's like doom doom. like like I belong to her. Like, one time she sat down, me and my brother, and she's like, he told my brother, you're gonna be able to do what you want to do, but you need help. Like, you need to be on the track, on like, she's gonna be in control of my life for the rest of my life. Basically, is what she was saying. And I was like, and it made me the things that she did, things like that, made me question, like, is there something wrong with me? Like, but I was like, I ain't stupid, because I'm in honors classes and stuff like that. Well, that that was my reasoning and stuff. But she did things like that. So when I used to ask to go out, I remember one time I was 17 years old. I couldn't go outside on my own. We lived in a cul-de-sac in the suburbs, right? In a black suburb. It ain't like I'm going out amongst white people about to get shot. No, we lived in a cul-de-sac within a black suburb. You know what I'm saying? No, everybody in the neighborhood, but I can't go outside by myself. And it's not like, it's just her. She was enabled. Like, my father agreed to the same thing. They didn't give a fuck. Like, my father, he wasn't protecting me. He was there. He wasn't protecting me. You know what I'm saying? He just went along with it. He reinforced it. You know what I'm saying? And I couldn't be out on my own. Just like, it's summertime. I'm 17 years old and I can't go outside. You know what I'm saying? I can't walk to the store. And it's just like, and I remember I used to ask for everything, because I had freedom to do nothing at all. It was like a prison. It was a prison, and I didn't understand why. So the one time I did go out, it felt like something broke. It felt like something broke in me when they said I couldn't go outside. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I just kind of did it anyway, and I got in so much trouble. Get beat. You know what I'm saying? For I was getting beat into my 20s. That's embarrassing to say, but it's true. It's like, if you're in an abusive relationship, and it starts from back when, your normal becomes the abuse, until you can see what is happening in your life. So I ended up going to Spelman, and I was still like trying to be good. And I had never done anything reckless up to that point. I had never done anything like bad or exciting or nothing. I just hadn't done anything. And I was praying, like, something exciting happened. And it finally did. It was my sophomore and junior year of college, and I was able to like move off campus that summer. I was like with my brother and his friends, and it was like I lived in a party house, you know what I'm saying? And with older people, they were not in school or anything like that. And I'm just like, I didn't go buck wild. I ain't do nothing buck wild ever. but that's when I got introduced to smoking and drinking and stuff, and it was just like freedom. It was finally fun, right? Everything that I thought was bad, quote unquote, or the people that I thought that were living their life wrong, that's what I was amongst. And it was the most freedom I ever had in my life, and it was the best time I ever had in my life up until that point. And I was finally around like this free-spirited, artistic bunch of people that I learned a whole lot. It was like a summer and a year. You know what I'm saying? I learned so much throughout that time. Like, and things got crazy. Like we lived in a house on right outside of. It wasn't outside of Atlanta. It was in East Atlanta. We lived in a house in East Atlanta at first, and one of the residents got one of the roommates that he just graduated Morehouse. He got shot and killed, and that freaked me out. But I had but the house that we were living in, like, it was just so, everybody in there was just so artistic. Like, everybody was, there was ciphers that was going on randomly in the house, but it was a house of people who, loved music and art and everything like that, and wasn't super straight-laced, at all. And then, they wasn't in school. They was like, I was the youngest one there. It was like 10 years older than me, 7 years older than me, all, you know, so it was just an artistic house, you know, and it taught me that, you know, what I considered right was like fake, you know what I'm saying? It was fake. That whole straight lace shit, it was just like, it's just a facade, you know, just to be around free spirited people